What's going on, fam? Hope y'all doing well out there. I have got a really exciting one here for y'all tonight. This is one that I am so happy to have sitting here at my table. The only thing that would make me happier would be if this was my actual knife. So this is from our friends at Vosteed. As you can see, this is their newest knife. This is the Ankylo. I'm not sure how they want you to say it. I always call them Ankylosauruses, or Ankies, I guess. But this is their pivot lock knife. The V-anchor or the Vanker lock, however you want to say it. So I do have some experience with this knife. Got to play with it a lot at Blade Show, and I really enjoyed it there. I've been watching UA's progress with this thing very intensely from the beginning. Super excited by this because of how this is done. It's kind of blends a lot of function into this thing, and it does it without being or feeling super thick. It is a little bit thicker because you do have to pack a lot of stuff into a little spot. But having this in hand and having some of the other pivot locks in hand, this one does not feel super thick in the hand because it's got a little bit of a longer handle and everything. It doesn't feel too awful bad. So let's go ahead and crack right on into this thing. We'll zoom in and take a look here. So right off the bat, you can see your pivot lock there. You do have a raised stainless steel collar, and then your pivot button, and then you have all aluminum, and this one has the frag pattern. They also have a smooth body as well. And these are currently on Kickstarter. That will be linked down below. I want to say they're 150, 160, somewhere around in there. Elmex steel and aluminum. You can get smooth or fragged aluminum. So you have T8 body screws. It is open pillar construction. You have a really nice lanyard tube there. It is not a like captured lanyard tube or anything. It's really easy to get that off. You do have, let's see, you do have really good blade to body ratio there. So your tip ends right there at the body. So really nicely done there. Current models do not have any lefty love, but I do know that's coming. So they are working on that. I think the current generation, something happened and they're trying to get, they've got that worked out. It's just going to be on the second generation knives. A lot of folks have talked about having the pocket clip moved up. I really honestly don't care one way or the other. You don't have a whole lot sticking out there. Yeah, they could have moved it and put it there, but I'm betting there's a reason for having that pocket clip where it's at. And I bet you it has a lot to do with ergonomics, because if you move that up here, it would probably dig into the palm of your hand a little bit. But we'll take a look at that here in just a second. It does inset into the liner, or excuse me, into the scale. Flat screws as usual. It's the typical Vosteed pocket clip. And then here you see the smiling Anky. This is how you access the lock plate to take everything apart. So really innovative little design there. To have that little kind of the smiling guy there. Jimping for days on the blade. Plenty of jimping on the flipper. Yeah, front flipper, whole nine. So let's go ahead and crack into this guy. So this is a prototype. Let me get some smudges off of this thing. I have been playing with this knife all day long, and I am just absolutely in love with this thing. So there you can see your Vosteed. It is a belt satin, beautiful sheep's foot blade, modified sheep's foot because it's not a rounded tip here. Sheep's foot it is. Then you've got a really nice swedge there. And of course, again, this is a prototype. Now it is Elmax steel, as we talked about. And there's that beautiful belt satin again. Taking a look here, it is a flat grind. You have a ton of access for sharpening, so your plunge grind ends about right there. So you've got all that for sharpening. The blade grind looks really good there. And looks really good there as well. No issues there. Take a look at her tip. Excuse the odd looking finger. I had to super glue a cut together. So that looks good there. Perfect on the tip. Let's go ahead and back on up. So a great looking knife all around. We are going to disassemble this guy so y'all can see what the lock looks like. How this thing works. But you do have a really strong neodymium magnet in here that keeps the button recessed whenever the knife is closed. As you can see there, you've got a detent, an actual detent, and we're going to show the reason for that. And just, God, the action is so good on this thing. But great lines on the knife. Choke up position is fantastic. Standard position, again, is fantastic. This is where I was talking about with the pocket clip, and we'll zoom in for this. At least on my hands, you know, with the standard position, you know, without choking up on the knife, if that pocket clip was scooted back a quarter of an inch, then that part of the pocket clip would be digging into my hand right here. And it's not whenever you have it in a normal grip. So I'm pretty sure that that's why they did the pocket clip the way they did and where they did it. Vosteed is really good at ergonomics. It's kind of one of the things I love about their knives. None of their knives I've ever picked up are uncomfortable. Fantastic again in that choke up grip. It's really great. You don't have any jimping up here for the pinch grip because you don't really want to pinch grip one of these guys. I mean, I guess you could come in underneath here and hold underneath the pivot, or come in on the blade, and then you could have your finger on the edge of it. With your standard choke up grip, you've got plenty of precision on that tip. I don't think you're gonna need it. Again, forgive me for missing the flick there. I'm not said I don't want to use the part of the finger where I got cut, so I'm trying to avoid that, and it makes it a little awkward getting to the flipper. Flipper action is great. Detent's tuned well for that. Front flipper, which you guys know I suck at, pretty good. I wouldn't call it the best front flipper in the world, but it is pretty doggone good, especially considering I can get it 9 times out of 10. Reverse flick is really where this thing shines. It is just fantastic with that. I think I can even thumb flick this guy. Yep. So good access to even be able to do that. And you guys know I have issues with that because of my thumbs, but I can get in there. Again, that reverse flick is just freaking money, man. I love the reverse flick on this thing. So you look in here. Let's see if we can get you guys some view in here. So you don't see anything. But if you look, or if you see down in here on this side, let me see if I can get y'all some light on the subject. So you'll see there is right there, you can kind of see it made out. There is a lock bar that runs down the middle of the scale. And we'll show you guys that here in just a second. That is what locks your knife in like a bank vault. So what's really cool about this design is with just 2 screws, you can see how the locking mechanism works. So you take these 2 T6 screws out. Make sure I'm on camera here. And your little plate comes out. And there you can see your lock bar. And so that's why it has a good detent. It's because it is actually a real detent on a real spring bar, or lock bar, excuse me, with tons of spring pressures, not using a little dinky coil spring for spring tension or anything like that. It is acting just like a liner lock or a frame lock or a compression lock or whatever would work. And then bank vault kind of lock up right there. So then you push your button in, and then there you go. And again, just listen to that lock up. I mean, it's solid, just absolutely solid. So let's go ahead. I'll back up a little bit here. We're gonna go ahead and take this thing apart. So after your T6s, you have 3 T8 screws on the body. And so you do want to pay attention to these screws. So there is one that is a little bit longer, and then 2 that are shorter. Get a little more torque on that thing. So again, you got 2 short and 1 long. Actually, they're 2 longs and 1 short, excuse me. So with those removed, you can pull apart the scales. And the magnet's still trying to stay stuck on there, but you can kind of force that magnet off. And there is your locking plate. So we'll go ahead and zoom in here. So that is what locks your knife up right there. So you can see here on the blade, you have your locking part of your blade is right there. Try to get everything out of the way here. You can see that falls shut. And then there's your detent. Just like on a normal knife, you got a detent hole in the blade. And then this all rotates around. And like I said, this really thick bar right here locks into your knife. We'll go ahead and pull this plate off. So this is your lock plate. And this will expose the bearings and everything. So you can see there you've got your really large surround bearings. You got the same thing on both sides, and then inside there you can see your your button with the magnet. And then this is the solid steel pivot. So really interesting design, really well done. I'm not going to take it apart any more than that because it's really simple. It just, that's all there is to it. You've got a really great substantial locking lug there, which this is a square locking lug. So instead of having a typical lock where it's it's an angled lock and angled lock face hitting, and so it wears in over time, this is just a square lock that literally clicks into the blade. So your wear pattern is going to be completely different. It's going to wear completely different, but locks up solidly. Again, really easy to take apart and maintain. It's not a lot of complicated, steps, not a lot of complicated hardware. It's literally just, it's 6 screws, and you can take the knife apart for maintenance. There's traditional liner locks that have more screws than that. Some of them you have to take the pocket clip screws out and things like that. So it's not unusual to take 6 screws out. Helps if you go in the screw hole, not the lanyard hole. But again, you just snug all your screws down. And what's cool about this is before you can put that plate on, you want to check your knife to make sure everything works. It locks up just fine. Still locks up like a bank vault. I mean, just fantastic. Absolutely no issues there. So this lock face, it does matter which way it sits in there. So you want to kind of remember which way you took it out. But it will only go in one way. It'll only line up one way. Let me just rephrase that. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and get that to line up. I'll go ahead and get one screw almost all the way in. Do the same thing for the other one. Just snug it up. Snug that one up. And I'll go ahead and come in here and just tighten those up. Back to normal. So you can see it's not a super complicated, having to, rub your head and pat your stomach or whatever the hell it is. It's as simple as a standard liner lock or frame lock. It's just a different mechanism, but equally well done. I'm really super impressed with this guy. I've been impressed with, like I said, when I got to play with it in Texas, it was really nice. And then getting to see it here. Now, I do have the privilege to get to see another one. So I'm going to really be able to compare 3 different ones. And so far, these 2 are the same. I mean, they're the one I held in Texas and this one, my memory's pretty good on it. They feel almost exactly the same. So it looks like they're doing a really fantastic job on keeping them working together. So I really don't have much more to say. I know these guys are on Kickstarter. Of course, the link's going to be below. I'll put on here when the Kickstarter ends and the pricing for the Kickstarter on there right now. I do know that they had a early bird thing, just like all Kickstarters do. That's over with, and I think they've got about 15-ish days, or maybe a little bit more, to go on the Kickstarter. So definitely jump on that if you can. This is one you do not want to miss out on. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe. I appreciate everybody for doing that and for supporting the channel. And always just remember to be kind, be humble, be EDC, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.